Hello there, what's going on everyone? Today I'm bringing to you an Armada fleet build, and today we're going to be focusing on something a little different. Basically trying to copy the Ozzel design without being forced to operate exactly in the same way. So one of the things we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and kick this thing off by using a Pelta assault ship with the Entrapment formation upgrade. And this one is going to let all of our ships automatically get a free nav, well, not the nav command, but the ability to change their speed by 1 during the determined course step, right? So pretty cool, and this is effectively kind of like the same thing that Ozzel gives, except this doesn't require us to have to do a nav command every turn. This will allow us to do other commands as well. And to try to one-up Ozzel, because I really don't like Ozzel, and I figure, you know what, maybe the Rebels can do Ozzel better than Ozzel can do Ozzel. We're going to put Leia as our commander. This way, if a friendly ship does decide to do a nav, not only will they get a nav token, which Leia kind of does Ozzel better than Ozzel, but they'll also have an entrapment formation. So a ship with nothing can all of a sudden just do 1 nav and be able to change their speed by 3 instead of 1. So that's kind of what I have in mind for this. Granted, I'll concede a couple of things that Ozzel can do the same thing if he's also got a token. It just takes a little more setup because you have to get that ship a token ahead of time. And also Ozzel's cheap, and I can't deny that. Ozzel is quite cheap. So, but we're making up for that by running a cheap fleet. So we're going to have a lot of CR90s. And oddly enough, I'm going to go with CR90Bs. So CR90Bs are generally, I don't hardly ever use them because they don't have the red dice, and I figure, you know what, I'm not going to need the red dice. I'm really not going with a whole lot of stuff for rerolls, although if I do concentrate fire, Leia will give me a single concentrate fire token, so I might have a little bit of rerolls, which, you know, that can be helpful if I end up getting like 2 accuracies on a single attack. So you know what, that's fine. I don't mind that. But we're going to run CR90s, and we're going to run a couple of interesting things on these CR90s. First thing is, since I'm kind of trying to mimic Ozzel and take advantage of movement, I'm going to give each of my CR90s engine techs. And I'm going to do 4 of these. I'm going to give them some more stuff, but I'm starting out with 4 CR90s that have engine techs. And this way, when they're getting set up, the idea is for the approach to be slow. I can set them to maybe speed 0 or speed 1, and then when I'm ready, and again, I can even do other things, like while, like I could chill at speed 0. Oh, if I get slicer tooled or whatever, no problem. Entrapment formation still lets me adjust my speed, so I can still always increase to speed 1 if I need to be able to spend defense tokens. But not only that, if I do a nav from speed 0, I can, you know, go up to speed 3 and then engine tech, so I can go effectively up to speed 4. But yeah, so like I can go from speed 1 to speed 4. No problem, and then also engine tech, so you can just really get crazy maneuverability out of this. So I really like that. I think this will be a fun one, and it makes up for their having only blue dice, because I can be, you know, out of your front arc, and in a good turn, if everything goes right, I can have most of my CR90s outside of a, you know, Star Destroyer's front arc, from being beyond shooting range to now being past its shooting range. Possibly in 1 turn. A lot of that depends on how fast the Star Destroyer is coming in or something like that. But that'll be fun. So when we have some shooting, there's a couple of things that I want to do, right? So I'm going to have 2 of these guys run heavy ion emplacements. Now this is a nasty upgrade that's going to use blue crits to go ahead and you know, drain those shields. And that one's just super good. It always has been, and probably will continue to be. Really nasty upgrade card. Love it. The other 2 are going to run heavy ion turbines. That's going to increase their left and right by 1 blue die. That's giving them just extra blue dice. Not as crucial here, and you could easily make arguments for something like Overload Pulse or whatever. But I figure, what am I really worried about with Overload Pulse? A lot of times, you know, it's those ships that have multiple redirects, and that's not that big of a deal, because Overload Pulse, like, they're going to be able to... Brace isn't going to really hurt me that much, because I have so much, you know, I have lots of little doses of damage coming in. So I'm really not worried about a Brace. What am I going to get, 3 damage? or 2 damage and an accuracy, I'm going to have a lot of accuracies anyway. I don't have to worry about redirects because I'll be draining their shields with the heavy ion emplacements. So, you know, I kind of like that with the 2 of those. So these 2 are going to be running that, and I will give one Dodonna's Pride in case, you know, in case I feel feeling up to just rolling a crit and I'm like, you know what, I don't like these dice. Let's just deal you a face up. And it's always a nice option to have. Works a little better with Dodonna as your commander, but it's a pretty cool ability. Now I've got 4 CR90s, and you know, that's actually respectable armament on these guys. Like my bottom 2 have 3 dice almost everywhere, as long as it's not in the rear. And with engine techs and then entrapment formation and Leia, I just have so much control over where I'm going to move. I think this would be a really fun list to fly. But the biggest weakness is that these guys have no long range and that they can be popped pretty easily. So one of the things I'm definitely going to want to do here is kind of stall with activations. Now, I could just add a couple of flotillas that are going to take up some space, but I want them to be shooting also, especially if Leia's going to be here. Like, I really like how Leia can add that whole, you know, concentrate fire, die, and reroll in case I need it. So we're going to add a GR75 combat retrofit, and we're going to give this one CommsNet, and we're going to add another GR75 combat retrofit, and we're going to give this one some different things. We're going to give this one slicer tools because that's always useful. And since that's going to be our more dangerous one, we'll give it Bright Hope to help it survive. So we've got ourselves 4, 5, 6, 7 activations. That's not half bad. So we should be able to, against a lot of lists, we should be able to have our CR90s go last. We can have some of these GR75s kind of stall and go first. The Pelta is going to kind of go that slow approach going first. And then the CR90s, our actual damage dealers here, can go ahead and go last. And also, it's worth pointing out that if we do get somebody low enough with the engine techs, we could ram as well. So if we were to get an ISD, you know, kind of low, we could resort to ramming if we have to. It's not the sole purpose of this fleet, though. We don't want to just throw our ships away if we don't have to. But with something like Dodonna's Pride, if we go up against maybe an admonition or something like that, we can really make sure that you know, we kind of force the damage through if we absolutely need to. That can be a little cheesy. That's not why I'm not making that my entire strat, but it's a good option to have if in a pinch if you really need it. And now we are going to put a couple of squadrons in here, but I don't have a whole lot of points left over, so we're going to put 2 Z95s. That's just going to give us one more deployment option and you know, something just to slow down the squadron ball. Now the thing is, I think I'll probably keep these Z95s kind of backed by this Pelta or maybe one of these GR75s. They're really just there to protect Leia and the flagship because the CR90s are going to be so fast. It's going to be hard for squadrons to catch up to them. If you know, more likely squadrons will just lay a trap, and then the CR90s will, you know, have to fly through it to get to the enemy ships. And we can, if that's the case, then we can try to use these Z95s just to stall or to slow them down a little bit. You kind of hope that with only 3 hull, you know, you don't get one-shotted. If you can manage to make, you know, take up 2 squadron shots with 1 Z95, then you've probably done your job. And maybe you get lucky and do some good. You know, with the red die versus ships has the potential to do some extra damage. You know, you never know when you're going to get that double red. So that's pretty cool. So let's go ahead and look at our objectives now. We do have some cheap flotillas, so you could definitely make an argument for most wanted in this one, but I really like advanced gunnery. I'm going to definitely go with advanced gunnery. I'm sorry, not advanced gunnery, opening salvo. Advanced gunnery would be bad here. That would be really bad. We're going to go with opening salvo, and the reason we're going with opening salvo is, you know, I've got a lot of shooters. Every ship can shoot. Even my flotillas can shoot. And this gives my flotillas some real capability. You know, we could even, in theory, you could even, you know, drop, you know, slicer tools and add disposable capacitors to each of those flotillas, you know, if you really wanted to. But I have a feeling nobody's going to take opening salvo. If I knew for sure they were going to take opening salvo, I would probably go for that. But, yeah, so that's, I figure slicer tools is more, you know, probably a better investment against, you know, the bigger squadron balls. Okay, so we have For our yellows, we have got a lot of options. First off, I think planetary ion cannon is always a safe one because it never can help your opponent. It always helps you. But I think for this one, considering I'm blue dice, I'm more likely to want to go with fleet ambush. In this case, it's going to give me an advantage against squadron lists because squadrons have to deploy last, so I'll know where my opponent's ships are going to be. Also, I can potentially start all my CR90s in shooting range. So that's really, really helpful. For navigation, I feel like Solar Corona is probably going to be helpful here. Although I am likely to get accuracies if I don't choose the right side, but I think that's okay. Superior positions is also definitely a possibility with the maneuverability I have on these CR90s. It would not be that hard in theory for me to get behind my opponent. So I think I'm going to go with superior positions. I realize that could hurt me with squadrons, but these CR90s are going to be able to move so much, especially with engine techs. I don't think they'll have any problem at all getting around behind enemy ships, and I think that would be fun trying to do that too, like trying to focus specifically on getting to the rear. It's something you'll probably want to do anyway, since most ships, they don't have a whole lot of dice in the rear, and you want these guys to survive. So I think that's a worthwhile attempt. So yeah, that's the list, guys. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Maybe I'll get to try this list out on a battle report one of these days. It looks like a fun one to fly. I think it would be pretty interesting, but it could potentially crash and burn. Also, let me know what changes you might make if you were going to run something like this. Maybe not everybody's got 4 CR90s. Although a lot of people probably have at least 2. You could probably drop 2 of these and drop an MC30 in there, and any points left over, maybe toss in a few squadrons. But I think that's probably another acceptable option. I think an MC30 is a great idea to run with entrapment formation. I just didn't want to do it this time. But, that's all right. That's what we're here for. We're just here to experiment, try new things out. I think this one would be fun. All right, guys, that's all I got for you today. I want to thank you all so much for watching. And as always, have a great day.